Chapter 4, Pullman Cyberculture, Lab 2, Berlin, Germany. The cold, clinical air inside Lab 2 in Berlin felt as sharp as the steel fixtures surrounding the team. The faint hum of supercomputers continued to provide the background noise as scientists and technicians moved with silent precision, their every motion calculated, their eyes fixed on the tasks at hand. Pullman Cyberculture's global reach was evident, with this Berlin facility being one of the key players in a network of labs spread across the world, all connected by a shared purpose, pushing the limits of human evolution through cybernetics and nanotechnology. The screens along the lab walls flickered to life, connecting the Berlin team to their colleagues across the globe. The split-screen conference, which had begun earlier, was still ongoing, linking Berlin with labs from New York to Tokyo. Everyone was waiting, the tension palpable as the global team braced themselves for the next phase. Dr. Aaliyah Tiv, a figure of calm amidst the flurry of activity, stood at the forefront, her posture straight, her eyes clear with purpose. She had taken the reins here in Berlin, ensuring the facility was running in perfect harmony with the others. The faint scent of disinfectant clung to the air, mingling with the sterile chill of the lab. Aaliyah's fingers lightly tapped against the tablet in her hand, bringing up the latest data reports. Across from her stood Dr. Yanez, one of the top minds in cybernetic biology, her sharp features illuminated by the glow of the monitors. Her confidence was palpable, a force that everyone around her could feel. Rachel had been waiting for this moment, years of research, development, trial and error all leading to this juncture. As was mentioned in the Senate committee, and by you, Dr. Pullman, Rachel began, her voice smooth and unwavering, our facility here in Germany is ready. She allowed a small, triumphant smile to play on her lips. Just give us the go-ahead. There was a flicker of pride in her eyes, a fierce confidence that emanated from someone who knew their work was on the verge of changing the world. Aaliyah nodded, her gaze meeting Rachel's across the lab. I concur with my colleague, Aaliyah added, her tone steady, authoritative. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready. The words hung in the air, and for a brief moment, there was a stillness, a shared understanding of the gravity of what was about to unfold. Every screen in the lab reflected the same tension, the same anticipation. From Berlin to New York, the teams were aligned, their goals unified. The technology was ready. All that was left was to take the next step. Monitors displayed live feeds from the other labs around the world, scientists nodding in agreement, acknowledging the readiness. The entire global team seemed to move as one, a collective mind spread across continents, connected by the data that flowed between them. In Tokyo, lab personnel mirrored the actions of those in Berlin, their hands moving across keyboards, adjusting parameters, ensuring that every system was in perfect sync. In New York, engineers rechecked cybernetic prototypes, their fingers brushing over the delicate circuits with the care of a surgeon. Aaliyah glanced at the split screens, her eyes narrowing slightly as she considered the enormity of their task. This was it. This was the moment they had been building toward for years, cybernetic technology that could change the very fabric of human existence. And yet, there was a weight that came with that knowledge, a burden that she felt in the pit of her stomach. Dr. Pullman's voice crackled through the speakers from the Central Command in Atlanta. She sounded calmer now, more composed than she had during the earlier Senate meeting. Your readiness is what's going to move us forward, Monica said, her voice imbued with renewed confidence. What I told the Senate, about the readiness of our nanite technology, I believe it. I trust all of you. We're in sync, and that's what matters. Aaliyah felt a small surge of pride swell in her chest at Monica's words. There had been moments when she doubted, when the political pushback, the fear, and the ethical questions had weighed heavily on her. But standing here now, surrounded by her team, knowing that every lab was prepared and that they were all unified in purpose, she felt that confidence solidify. We're ready, Aaliyah repeated quietly to herself, her fingers gripping the edge of the table in front of her. Across the lab, Dr. Yanez was already moving, instructing her team to finalize the preparations for the nanite integration trials. The atmosphere in the lab buzzed with the same energy, a collective anticipation, like the moments before a great storm. Every technician, every researcher moved with heightened focus, knowing that this was their moment to make history. Yet beneath the surface, there was a grittier undertone, one that Aaliyah couldn't quite shake. The ethical dilemmas, the potential dangers, they lingered at the edges of her mind like a dark cloud. She knew that the world was on the cusp of something monumental, but with that came the terrifying possibility that they were walking a razor-thin line between salvation and disaster. Dr. Rachel Yanez, sensing the heaviness of the moment, approached Aaliyah, her sharp eyes softening for just a second. "It's not too late to pull back, you know," she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. There was no judgment in her tone, only the acknowledgement that once they moved forward, there would be no turning back. "Once we go ahead with this, we're committed. No matter what happens." Aaliyah met Rachel's gaze, her own expression unreadable. She knew what Rachel was saying, knew the risks as well as anyone. But this wasn't just about them anymore. It was about the future of humanity, about saving a world that was rapidly spinning out of control. They couldn't afford to stop now. Not when they had come this far. "We've already made our choice," Aaliyah said softly, her voice resolute. "And we're ready." Rachel nodded, her expression hardening once more, the moment of vulnerability passed. "Then let's make history." As the global team moved in unison, finalizing preparations, Aaliyah allowed herself one last moment of reflection. She thought of the Senate committee, of the questions and doubts that had been thrown their way. She thought of the weight Monica had carried on her shoulders during that meeting, standing alone against a room full of politicians who couldn't begin to understand the complexities of their work. But most of all, she thought of the world outside, the people who had no idea what was being developed here, the technology that could save them or damn them. She turned her attention back to the split screens, the faces of her colleagues mirrored in the glow of the monitors. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Aaliyah felt a sense of peace. Whatever came next, they would face it together. With a final nod to Rachel, Aaliyah took a deep breath and stepped forward. Chapter ended.